Hey guys, it's Nemo and welcome back to World of Warships. Today we have for you the IJN Kitakaze. It is the second proper gunboat in the gunboat line after the Akazuki. And essentially it is just a better version of its baby brother, the Akazuki. And the Kitakaze is just great. It's great fun to play. It's a big staple of ranked when it's ever tier 9 ranked. This is one of the ships that appears a lot, and it's just fun to play. It is a little bit big and clumsy, but you know, you've got 4 turrets with 2 guns in each. They're 100mm little pop guns. They fire off in a matter of seconds all the time, so they fire off quite quickly. You've got 1x6 launcher for torpedoes, and if you use them properly, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use them in a second, you can do a lot of damage. They are Japanese torpedoes, so a Japanese torpedo can do a lot of damage. I think it's well over 10,000. I know that sometimes I get hit by one and there's 20,000 on my health done, so I don't know exactly the parameter of the damage, but it is quite a lot. So here's how we're going to use your torpedoes. Now I saw that other Kitakaze coming in, and I'm going to launch them right here. Remember, I talk about, every time I play DDs, I always talk about knowing the entry points of enemy destroyers into caps. Now if I had to touch that cap and contested it, he wouldn't have felt safe. So the whole idea here is to make someone feel safe. You make someone feel safe in this game and they start making mistakes. You fire at them, they start making mistakes. So I'm going to launch off to where I think that Kitakaze is going to stay. That's the entry point, and look at that, there's a smoke screen right there. So as I was saying, the 100mm guns on the the Kitakaze, sorry, they do have 25mm of penetration, which is if you do the maths properly, it doesn't add up. But because they were buffed a while ago, or a long time ago now, and 2 torpedoes right there on the Akazuki. What else do I say? Never sit still in the smoke screen, and never go broadside in the cap when you're capping, because that is what happens. You come up against someone who knows what they're doing, or has an inkling of what they're doing, and you're going to pay the price for it. So the 25mm of penetration on the guns, as I was saying, it was a buff that come when they released the Kitakaze and the Haragumo, because they reckoned that it wasn't making enough damage, and really, like, your 100mm guns weren't. You had to run IFHE. You don't have to run IFHE now, but I still do. So I'm firing into the smoke here in an area that he has to be, because he's still capping, as you can see. Oh, look at that. He was still capping, so he was sitting inside a tiny little spot inside that smoke, and so that's the why I fired there. If he's not going to move around, he's going to get himself killed. Never sit still in the smoke screen. Look what just happened to that guy. That's another reason why I always say practice smoke firing, because I didn't even see that guy at all. I did not see him except for when he was spotted in the game by the aircraft carrier. Otherwise I didn't know where he was, and still got him. Now unfortunately the Fletcher goes, he DCs and goes AFK. That's one easy way to get killed. You don't always need to use your smoke. You do have smoke on the Kitakaze, just the same as the Akazuki, but these are fantastic open water gunboats if you can do it properly. Now I've got my division mate here, Jigs, in the Friesland. That is another ship that is exceptional, absolutely exceptional ship. So I'm going to go into his smoke, use it so I can disengage. As you saw, I was spotted. Now, you have guns. These are your primary armament. The amount of Kitakaze, Haragumo or Akazuki players that I see trying to play their ship as a torpedo boat is insane. Yes, you have very good torpedoes, but guns are your primary armament. Now if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I was waiting for the York to die, and now I'm going to use this island and the fact that the Izumo is still spotted just to start firing on him. He's coming under an absolute hail of shells from both now myself and my Friesland, plus a whole heap of other enemy ships. The last thing you want to do is get caught bow in here. Now, understandably, the Izumo has exceptional deck armor with 50mm of deck armor and a very good 32mm frontal bow armor. But you can still be set on fire, and you can still panic under a wither of fire like this. So what you need to do with the Akizuki is, you're not a capping DD straight away. Oh, I keep saying Akizuki, it's the Kitakaze. The Kitakaze. Same with the Akizuki and the Harumo. You're not a capping DD straight away, so you need to play around the caps and not as much in the caps to start with. A lot of people in the game get angry at destroyer players if they don't cap straight away. But if you're hanging around the cap, affecting the cap, forcing enemy ships away, making them feel uncomfortable, then you're still doing your job, because if you're hanging around the base of the cap, you're still spotting. And spotting is a DD, no matter what kind of DD you are, whether you're a torp boat, hybrid or gunboat, spotting is still your primary role. So you want to be able to move in, spot the enemy, and force them away. The Kitakaze is very, very good at forcing enemy ships away, because the last thing that you want to do is get into a gunfight with a Kitakaze. Now, you might have noticed there in the replay, I was sequential firing, and I was firing that fast with sequential fire that it wasn't even shooting all my guns in a row. And that's because it fires that fast. So double clicking is quite handy, but double clicking can also, you can adjust your aim a lot better with sequential fire than you can with double clicking. I don't usually double click, sequential fire, sorry. I'd rather double click with most of my ships, but you fire that fast, it doesn't matter if sequential fire. Now what I'm doing here is I'm under the radar, okay, but I'm not going to panic. I know I'm radared, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into a position where no one can hit me, even though I'm radared, so they can know where I am, but I'm not going to panic. A lot of people get under the radar and they just panic straight away, and they try to run away. And if you have an island in front of you, for example, and you're radared, and you start to run, the more you run, the more chance you give for the radar cruiser to kill you, because the more you open up the distance, he can then start lobbing his shells over the top of the island and hitting you. So what you want to do is, if you're radared, don't panic. Never panic, because you will get killed. Make sure that you play with, if you have no choice but to go open water, then play with the throttle, back and forth, juke around. Don't just run away in a straight line, because running away in a straight line and trying to just wiggle the ship will get you killed against the top players, because a lot of the top players can adjust their aim very well, and they start to predict how you're moving. Now I'm under the radar again, and Charles Martel, I don't know why he's launching torps from back there. It's never torp from the second line. It's such a dangerous tactic. And the other thing you never want to do is use your torpedoes when you're not going to hit anything, because then when something does come in range, you've got no torpedoes ready. So he's fired them, they have a 9-kilometer range. They're not going to hit anything from back where the Charles Martel is. So I fired at the Kitakaze. You always want to be able to get rid of the ships that can do the most damage, and the Kitakaze can do a lot of damage. And now I'm going to pull back just behind my battleships for a moment while I disengage, and then I'm going to go back in front of them, because it's my job to get out there and screen them and be in front. But I'm going to use them just to go dark, because you need to be able to learn how to allow other ships to take some heat for you. One ship in the game cannot take all the heat. They're dead. It doesn't work. You need to be able to leapfrog and look after your teammates like that. Now I know it's a random battles, and random battles can be very hard when this does happen. But it's part of being part of the team. I know that there's not much team play in World of Warships, but hey. So we're going to go and gun down to Baltimore. We're going to stay at range. I know the Kitakazi is over there in that smoke, but this Baltimore is going to die. The radars have already been popped. The Buffalo is now too far away to get me, and a stationary Baltimore under this kind of fire just absolutely melts away. They can't handle it. That's why they haven't been very effective this season in clan battles, because they have no heal. They just get totally destroyed. So I smoke up there, and the reason I smoke up is because, one, the Baltimore fired, so he's going to be spotted, so I'll be able to see him outside the smoke. So make sure you know all the smoke detection ranges as well, so then once you do smoke up, you can still hit things that are fired. The other reason I smoked up is because the Kitakazi the Kitakazi was starting to fire at me in the smoke, so I was permanently spotted because I was shooting at the Baltimore. So it's all about picking your gun battles, picking your fights, and knowing when to disengage, knowing what to do when smoking up or running away, in order to give yourself the best chance at winning the engagement. Now, because I usually, and I tell you guys all the time, you know, do not get into a gunfight where the odds are against you. Now, that gunfight, the odds were with me against the Baltimore, but once the Kitakazi joins the fight, it's no longer an optimal battle, so you need to disengage. You always want to pick the engagement and dominate the engagement. So if you go into, you rush your battleship, for example, into a crossfire of 3 to 5 ships, you are going to lose. It's just a matter of time, but it's going to happen. So the Kita tries to smoke up here, but he's already under too much fire. He's going to die. And then his friend in the Jean Bart, as you can see, they're both clanmates. That hurts. But our Jean Bart's about to give him something to think about. Now, I thought that our Jean Bart was going for the ram here. And once I see the guns there on Old Ball turn away from me, that's when I open fire. Now, at this range, the shells are very floaty. They're only 100mm, so they're very light shells. They're quite floaty. But you can, once you do get the arc correct, you'll start melting things away and setting fires. Now, there, I don't know why he didn't go for the ram or just gone for the ram. There was a good trade in there, both low health. But we can keep shooting and try and get ourselves some more damage. Now if we kill this guy off, that's that flank secure, and the only reason that I'm out here is to kill those guys and screen my battleships. Now I know that I have another destroyer in B, and that's my division mate Jigs. So I don't necessarily need to go to the cap A. We've already got 2. I know I say play the objective all the time, but you've got to be smart too. If you have another destroyer in there playing, then there's other things that you can do. If you're the only destroyer on the team, then you must play the objective. So map awareness, that mini map there, the reason I have it blown up so high is it is such a vital piece of information in the game. You need to be constantly watching that. So that's pretty much the end of the battle. The Buffalo does get killed. The King George gets killed. And we had a good win. We actually had a very good night that night. Myself, Jigs, I think King before Addy turned up, but Addy's in this one. And there were so many games that we had where we would dominate one flank and then they'd just start running away. Now, look at this. Look at the Friesland. See the rainbow there that he's making? Such a good ship. Such a good ship. When you pair it with something like a Kitakazi, it can be absolutely deadly towards enemy ships. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to cut the gameplay there, because no more of our ships end up going down or maybe the Abruzzi, but we get rid of the enemy. All 3 of them die, and that's the end of it. So we'll cut that there, and we'll go into the build and see how that looks. So as you can see, the post-battle results, not a bad game at all. We got a couple of, or 3 defenders, an assisted capture and 4 kills. Always good to get a heap of kills, but it was that first kill that really set that game up. If you can learn how to predict where ships are coming in into the caps, you're going to have a much better time and be able to kill things off. So I'm going to run the magazine mod 1 first. Main arms mod 1 is also viable. I'd probably run that too. Then we're going to have our propulsion mods, our aiming system mod 1, propulsion mod 2, so because you're playing around islands and smoke a fair bit, your concealment modification 1, and then your main battery mod 3 for all the Dakar. Now we're going to the captain skills. Now it does say Akazuki because I've only got a 10-point captain on my Kitakaze, but it's the first 10 are the same as the Kitakaze. So your survivability expert, concealment expert, priority target, last stand. You want to go. You don't have to have IFHE, but I run IFHE. I find it's quite good. Adrenaline rush, and then Yamamoto's skills of preventative maintenance and expert marksman make this ship a top ship. I absolutely love the Japanese gunboats, Akazuki, Kitakaze, Haragumo. They're great to play, they're fun to play because of the constant firing makes them very fun. If you use them correctly, you can be an absolute menace to all enemy ships. Well, that, guys, is my Kitakaze gameplay and build. Really fun once you get there, great ships to play. Highly recommended. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and stay safe out there.